Hey everyone, welcome to a very special episode of Brian's Basement. I'm Alex, your new and improved guest host, and this week we have Brian Sauer as the guest on Brian's Basement. So here's Brian Sauer performing Rolling Home. Take it away.
All right. Thanks, Alex. End of the show. So. The rhythm of my feet is the rhythm of the beat. There's some words and a tune in my mind, and I'm singing on this song all the whole day long. And I've been on the road for some time. Now my car is pretty fast, and Lord, it's built to last, and it gets me anywhere I need to go. And it's fueled on gasoline and old sweet memories of all those times from long, long ago. Yes, I've been gone oh so long. I'm headed on that old highway. Baby said she missed me. She longed to hold and kiss me. So baby, I am rolling home today. Now the engine's running hot, and I'm giving her all she's got, and I'm running at a steady 92. And if the cops don't like what they see, well, they can try and catch me, but there ain't no one gonna keep me away from you. Yes, I've been gone oh so long. I'm headed on that old highway. Baby said she missed me. She longed to hold and kiss me. So baby, I am rolling home today. Baby said she missed me. She longed to hold and kiss me. So baby, I am rolling home today. Now I'm a Rambler son, and a Rambler I've become, and there ain't nothing that I would rather do. But I'd throw it all away, and I'd come right home today, if coming home meant coming back to you. Yes, I've been gone oh so long. I'm headed on that old highway. Baby said she missed me. She longed to hold and kiss me. So baby, I am rolling home today. Yes, baby, I am rolling home today.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for graciously agreeing to appear on the show.
Oh, dude, it was, I had to travel really far, and it was a big hassle, but, I'm here. I'm just glad to be here now.
I have to admit, you weren't my first choice of a guest, but I think this is going to work out.
Wow, dude. Way to lay it on out there.
Um, so I guess first question, how's it feel to be a guest on your own show?
Feels good, man. I can just do the beer drinking and the singing part, and I don't have to keep the time or come up with questions or try to speak coherently really as much, I guess.
I just have to bail you out of it.
Yeah, right. It's very nice.
It seems less fun when you put it that way.
Yeah,
But
well.
no, so why don't we tell people why we're doing this? And sort of explain why we're switching roles and who we are and what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, sure. Well, I don't. Oh, maybe this won't be as good as I thought it would be. So anyway, who you are? That's easy. So, Alex, you are a person I've known since I was in the second grade, and pretty
Third
much.
grade. Fact check. Third grade.
Oh yeah. Oh man. See, now you're gonna find out I'm such a liar on the show. But pretty much throughout the entire time, has been someone that we've really kind of appreciated songwriting together, and we've written together or like separately, and you're the first person I go to send all my stuff. So to have me on the show, I thought it would be great.
Yeah.
I was reflecting on I think I remember I was trying to think of what back when I started appreciating songwriting, and I remember being in seventh grade like before like school started, sitting out in the office lobby or where and be like, dude, I Am the Walrus is a sick song. And you were like, dude, have you heard of Simon and Garfunkel? And like that was like when we like started like really getting into this stuff. So I
Yeah, that
that
sounds
yeah.
terrifyingly accurate. Yeah. um, so I think also one of the reasons we were talking about this and decided to do it this way is I've been watching the show with Aaron for these last couple of weeks, and both of us have been watching it and just being like, he needs to do an episode that's him. Like we gotta hear your side of the story because you've been doing all this hosting with all of these people from open mic nights from Cincinnati and New York and getting out Indiana and every other place, but I don't think you've really gotten a chance to tell your story. So I think it'd be cool to kind of do this one-off episode, and then I guess you'll be back with guests next week.
Oh, this is one off. I thought this is how it was going to go from now on. It would just
Well,
be
it depends on
me.
how interesting you are. As the host, I'll make that call.
Okay.
All right, so I'm told here that normally we do things like describe your origins and influence in music, talk about your work, talk about songwriting, wear Crocs.
Yeah. Oh,
The
yeah.
Crocs have been banned on my end. I cannot stop whatever's going on with my guest here.
Oh, jeez.
But why don't we kick it off and talk a little bit about your first memories of music and how you got from like kid playing, you played like what, the trombone or something, and
Yes.
yeah, so how'd you go from like playing the trombone to be like, oh, like music is my hobby, I want to do this at open mic nights, I want to write songs?
Yeah. So I guess like starting way back, I had I lived in a pretty, I would say, I guess a pretty musical house. My mom always had like CDs playing on the stereo and stuff, and she's also a piano player, and she would like play. She would play ragtime and marches a lot, like really like upbeat, kind of exciting piano music, which
Hmm.
was cool. And she, got us all doing piano lessons pretty early on, and then yeah, I did like the band thing, and then
I remember you playing the piano and hating it.
yeah, I have a complicated relationship with the piano. I really enjoy it, but I feel like it's like I could be I could be better than I am, but also like not really, and that's frustrating too. So anyway, that's a whole that we'll save that one for next week. But anyway, so like I was playing piano, and then along with that, comes like hammering away at like some of the songs that we had on in the house. My mom being a piano player, really a lot of Elton John and Billy Joel. And then when I discovered the Beatles somewhere in the early middle school or something like that, that was off to the races for just pounding on the piano chords and trying to play Let It Be and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
that's how and then so I was always doing kind of music stuff, but I wasn't really writing too much at the time, I guess.
Yeah, you did cover bands and stuff too, right?
Yeah, so when we got into high school, I always like thought the idea of a band was very cool, and I tried to get my friends together, and like you were involved in some of that with our comedy band kind of thing called the Comb Jellies, which was pretty formative as far as like learning how to do recordings and stuff. So like that was really helpful. But I was always trying to be in a band, and my friends like weren't really super into it, I guess. And it seemed like the logistics of a band were very tough, especially the drums. Like
You
nobody
you
had.
you can you can name names. It's my program. Feel safe.
No, it's okay. Like it's like when you're only listening to the famous like big time stuff like Elton John, the Beatles. You're
Mhm.
like, well, how are we going to do the drums? How do you? So it was always like a quest for me to try to figure out like what was like the minimum viable drums, because
Mhm.
that's what I was shooting for. So like the logistics, but it's not hard. The logistics seemed really hard, I guess, as a high schooler.
Yeah.
Um, and but I played piano in like the a talent show band with some of the other people from school, and that was probably my first like real band experience because we got together and practiced and had to come up with songs and actually be good at them. And
Hmm.
so that was really eye opening because the people I was playing with were way better than I was at piano.
Yeah. And so then what brought you to the place where you're like, oh, music is this obtainable thing that I can do as a hobby, or, it's not just this big production where I have to find a drummer and they're loud, and how do I deal with that?
Yeah, I think that comes from that I think that comes a lot from like later on in college. So I had gotten obviously I didn't take a piano to college, but I had gotten a ukulele in high school, and the reason why I got one was because there was, I think it was Paul McCartney's Back in the USA tour, I think is what it
Yeah.
was called, and it
Hmm.
was on TV, and that was really cool. And he played something, which is a George Harrison tune,
Yeah.
which was always my favorite song on the Beatles' number one hits album. And he played something on this like little ukulele, and I was like, man, I don't know why I thought that was cool, but I thought it was like, I thought, yeah, he played guitar during that show. I don't know why that didn't stick, but it was just like so like I don't know. There was just something about it, and I was like, man, I'm gonna get one of those. So I had one of those, and I was playing around with it in high school. But I took it with me to college, uh, and then um, and then from there, I guess what really helped me determine that it was something that you could do was just meeting some of the guys that I was in the band in college. That was
Mhm.
more of a real kind of semi-permanent thing, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And so, do you remember like your first shows with the band or how you got involved with that and when that basically made you think, oh, I can write songs, like this is something I want to do?
Yeah, I remember like, so I was kind of trying to like break out of my shell a little bit. I had like a rough time a little bit at the early part of college, just kind of finding my fit.
Hmm.
And can and it was kind of hard, and I just kind of decided that I need to start doing something. So I decided to join a club that was a music appreciation club. I was like, oh, I appreciate music. I'm a shoe in for this one, right? So, and it was this guy. His name's Clint Goffney, and
Hmm.
he was doing the club, but you could tell like I went there and he was just like totally spaced out. Like it totally wasn't about the club at all. I have no idea what the ulterior motives for doing this were. But he seemed like a nice guy, and he was showing everybody some of the tracks he made, and way out of character. This is not in my nature at all. I was like, "Oh, I can add some harmonica tracks to that." And he was like, "Cool, that sounds great." Which is like me. I would never do that today. I'd be like, "Oh God, like,
Yeah.
what's he gonna?" He'd say he might think I'm weird, but like,
So,
like, so
so if you want to be in a band, just find a nice guy with clear ulterior motives
yes,
and ask him to play with him.
it's so easy. I don't know how I didn't
Yeah.
see it. But so anyway, so he was like, "Well, come over to my house and we'll and
Mm.
you we'll play a little bit, and you can meet the guys." And so I get in my blue '97 Windstar, and
Shout
I
out.
drive to this guy's house, and it's I have to like leave campus, like, oh boy, like and go clear across like the highway into like some of the more rundown parts of the town, and I show up at this little tiny house that's barely lit up, and it's like kind of creepy out. And I go up and knock on the door, and he answers, and we go back. It's like real dark, and his like roommates are there, like TV's on low. It's like real, like kind of like I don't know, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing here? What am I doing here? And so he takes me back to his room, and it's like super bright in there, and it's like wood tones everywhere, and it's like and there's like, I remember there's like Ken. So Ken's the bass player. Ken was
Hmm.
like the rock of the band. He knew all the songs, because like Clint didn't really. Like you would ask Clint like, how do you play, what chord is this, and he wouldn't know. And so like Ken would tell you what it was. And
Hmm.
then there was Clint, who was like the writer genius with his like giant like pile of notes and stuff, and his guitar. And you've got and then to the right of him is the banjo player, Josh. This guy's name is Josh Cash, and
Josh Cash.
he wears all black, and he's exactly as cool as he sounds.
Yeah.
He embodied that whole, like, I was like, this guy's awesome. And like Ken's like smoking a cigar, and like Cash is like drinking whiskey, and I'm like, man, these are like, I was like, these are like real ass men, and I'm just like I am like a boy with my like hand drum and my harmonica. And I was like, what? But they were so super cool, and they were just doing this because it's what they did, you know.
Hmm.
Like they this was Saturday night, you know. They could have
Yeah.
been We could have been out, we could have been doing something, but like this is what they did for fun, and it's like how we all entertained ourselves in college. You know, we're like right on the cusp of like before like Netflix is a thing, you know. So like there is none of that, and like there's no internet, there's no good internet on campus for video games. So like what do? Like, well, you just go and sit in your friend's room and jam out. And to me it
Hmm.
was like, it struck me as like the biggest, like the most like traditional folk thing you could do, but not playing traditional folk music. Like,
Hmm.
this is our music that we made and that
Yeah.
we're going to entertain ourselves with, because that's
Hmm.
what we do. And oh, if there's like a get together or like a party on campus, we're going to take our stuff there and entertain the people there. And the thing was, like, they didn't have a drummer, but they didn't give a shit, you know. They just, they made it
So it
work.
freed you.
What's that?
It freed you.
Yeah, it did. Well, it did, because it made me think. I was like, well, like these guys have this band, and these guys are awesome, and like they're playing this type of music that, you know, is not like, it's not rock, but it's not like traditional folk, and it's
Hmm.
what you would call like singer songwriter or Americana now.
Yeah.
You know, so it was just and just hanging out with those guys, and then, you know, that led to all these different experiences and friends that I met, and like that is like the thing that like opened up like the what was available in the world, like was those guys and like the things that we were doing. So like it always is like something I think about a lot. Like, damn, like that is like what would have happened if I didn't go that night, or if I didn't show up to that club. Like, could be totally different. I don't know.
Hmm. And then so what made you go from then playing with them, and I'm assuming playing like campus parties and bars and whatnot, to being like, oh, I can write my own music. I should have been doing this.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought they was so cool. Like, I just like I mean, come on, like this guy, he's got all these just this crazy looking notebook. I have a crazy looking notebook too. I'm not gonna grab it, but like it's just like this crazy like loose leaf everywhere, and like he's just like, oh, I got one for this. And it was like open up like the archives and pull out some goofy song, and like Ken would remember all, like he's like, oh yeah, I remember how to play this, and and I was just thinking, I was like, man, this is so cool. Like, I want to be like that. Like, I want to do that. Like, and the thing about Clint's songs is that they're strange, and they're like very personal, and if you don't know them, they don't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But we all loved them. Like, it didn't matter, because like it's about the creation of it. It's about
Hmm.
like the feeling that's, you know, that is comes across after you play it. Like, even if the
Yeah.
words are like, I don't know, but like I was like, man, I want to do that. And, you know, like I said, had a lot of free time in college. Everybody
Hmm.
does. So I was like, I'm gonna try to write some songs, and some of them were pretty terrible, um, starting off. But, you know, it's just a practice thing. You just keep doing it. I don't know.
And so the song you opened the show with was one of the first songs that you wrote, right? Or was on the first release that you did?
Yeah, it was on the first collection of songs I did. So I had done I put together House of Tropicals in 2014, and then
Mhm.
so that was, you know, 2 years after I had left school, and then after that I was like, well, I've got all these songs, and like most of them are recorded, so I put them together in this collection called Ghost Town
Mhm.
after the fact. And so that was a song that I wrote when I was in school, driving back to seeing Kim in up
Yeah.
in Lancaster, Ohio. So that was that was the song that we did when we did that open mic in
Yeah.
Jeff City. I sent the bar manager some songs, and she basically was like, that's the one that was like got you in. Like, and so, like, all the other songs not so much, but that one was okay. So I always think that's a one of the better ones on that Ghost Town. There's some gems on there, but, you know, like everyone's first release, you know, you don't know what you're doing.
Well, if it's good enough for her, it's good enough for
Yeah,
us. At
right.
that
I mean,
case.
some bar manager in Jeff City thought it was good
Yeah.
enough to be at their open mic that also no one else was at. So
Yeah. Well, hey, why don't you play a song off of House of Tropicals, and so people can hear sort of what your first release was and what you were trying to do with it.
Okay, sure. I'm gonna play. Um, I'm gonna play the song that is probably most associated with me. This is the last song on House of Tropicals. It's called House on Edgar Street. Yes, I am the house on Edgar Street, sitting down by the river. Not a living soul does live in me, but then plenty goes around. And my halls whisper about the times when Main Street wasn't a highway, and since I'm not in over the Rhine, I sit idle on my empty street. I'll never be a trendy brewery. I was built after the war to end all wars, but I was young and I was indifferent. Since then I've seen so many more that I've learned to be a skeptic. And the slumlordy don't care about me any more than eviction victims that board my room so frequently. I'm a manifest of long gone pride, an empty shell with nothing left inside. Amazing ways, amazing ways. How have I become such a place? 'Cause I'm empty on the inside and ragged on the outside. I'm a ways of space and time. My floors are still level, my foundation is strong, but it doesn't seem to matter. 'Cause when you've been empty for this long, it gets so hard to fill the void. And I wonder why it has to be this life for me and my brothers. And I wonder why society pills more and more, and just a waste pills more and more till they share my fate. Amazing ways, amazing ways. How have I become such a place? All because I'm empty on the inside and ragged on the outside. My ways of space and time. Yes, I am the house on Edgar Street, sitting down by the river. Not a living soul does live in me, but them ghosts still hang around.
I love that song.
Thanks, man.
And I remember when you wrote it, I was like, oh shit, that is a great song. How did you write that?
Yeah, I actually don't know, and I don't remember so much, but it was nice to, I find it really comforting that I wrote that song like really early on, so now there's like I really don't have to worry about like I feel like I'm good
I
now. Like
well, I remember being mad at you when you wrote that song because you wrote it and I was like, "Oh, that's your best song." And you were like, "Oh, I don't know if I'll play it tonight." And I was like, "No, like you need to play that at every show you
oh
ever do."
yeah, you did say that, and I actually did. I started playing it like every single open mic, and that's the song that people know. Imagine that.
Good. I'm glad I could use this platform to establish how right I am. Uh, so I guess my question then is you wrote this album, House of Tropicals, and it's all about landmarks on Route 50 in Cincinnati where you would drive through, I guess, on your way to and from college and then, to your house after college. Um, what made you go from like, hey, I'm hanging out, having friends, and like playing with my buddies in college to, oh, I want to like make art and release this thing as a hobby that I do?
Yeah, I guess I was thinking about this concept for a while of just all the things that I would see, and they're just like, why is this interesting to me? I don't know why, but I need to like really like write this down in song just to I don't know why. But the thing that made me like put it together, I think, and what has a lot to do with that is around this time I was I started hanging out with my friend Warren, and
Mm-hmm.
he just called me out of the blue because I had met him like once or twice in college, but he was good friends with Ken, the guy in the band, and he was our roadie for one of our like out of town gigs. Uh, and like he famously just kind of the plug on my piano was falling out, so he laid under the piano the entire show and held the plug in the wall. Like shout out Warren, that's some
Yeah.
real roadie shit. But anyway, so he was like, come on, let's hang out. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so like we hang out, and he put on it was the Mountain Goats, All Hail West Texas. Or wait, no, it was no, he put on Aeroplane Over the Sea by Neutral Milk Hotel. And I was like, oh, this is like cool, like this is like really like, crunchy. And he was like, oh, take this CD, and it was the Mountain Goats, All Hail West Texas. And
Mm-hmm.
I put it in my car, and I listened to it, and I was like, I don't really get it. And then over time, I was like, oh, this is like so cool. So for people out there that maybe haven't heard All Hail West Texas, it's basically the Mountain Goats is one guy at the time. It's John Darnielle, and his whole thing was he would just come home from work feeling all shitty, and he would write a song and then immediately record it and through a boombox. He just sang into a boombox and recorded it, and then that was it. That was what went on the album. Like that's how he would make an entire album, just of boombox recordings. And I heard this, and I started looking into him and how he works and stuff. And I thought, this is so cool. Like this guy, like, in high school I'm hung up because I don't have a drum set. Now
Yeah.
I'm all hung up because like, oh, like studio, I don't even know how. And I was like, no, this guy just recorded in a boombox, and it's awesome, like it's great. So I
Mm-hmm.
went home and found a tape player, and I was like, I want to get that sound. Like I want to like get that like spur of the moment type sound, and so that's what House of Tropicals was. Like I think like All Hell is Texas was a huge influence on just being like, just put it out there. Like this
Yeah.
guy, he writes so much. He's prolific. He would put up like 2 albums a year, and I just thought that was like that's a super cool way to do it. You have like a complete record of everything that was happening at that time.
Yeah. What I think is cool about this story is you go from like, oh, I love the Beatles and Elton John and like these big, larger than life musicians who write like universal songs that like everyone relates to. And then you have all of these experiences in your life where it's like, oh, music can be like more personal, more accessible. Not that it's necessarily like better or worse than the other stuff, but like just like, oh, like this is empowering me to like go say something and write a song and like give it a chance.
Yeah, I think like the accessibility part is so important because it's the barriers to writing a song and recording it are so low. Like you need a phone, and
Hmm.
that's it. Like you really like you need a phone to write down the lyrics and a phone to record yourself on it. And like that's all you need. And just the idea that there are so many people in between like your guy at open mic playing songs all the way up to the Beatles. Like, it's
Yeah.
not just one or the other. There is a whole bunch of people of all kinds of different variations of success or fame or renown or whatever, all in between. And like, there's so much good stuff in there. And so
Yeah.
like, it's just like, I want to be a part of that. I don't have any, you know, I don't have any like crazy, illusions about this or whatever. But like, I want to be part of that, like that whole tapestry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important to like when you're making stuff like that to just put it out there and record it. Because I remember when you came up with House on Edgar Street and like we're releasing an album, you had been writing songs for years, but I had been finding like your music or like some of my other friends' music who were writing songs. And I realized like if somebody asked me what my top 5 favorite songs are, like I don't have 2 of them because there aren't recordings of them anywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just think that like the jump from just like, hey, I'm gonna like write a song to, hey, I'm gonna like make this a thing and own it and be able to share it if I want to. Like with the internet it's easy, but it's such an important step.
Yeah, like all that stuff with like Clint back in the day. Like, we love that stuff. Like, I still have all of it on CDs, and I'll go over Warren's house sometimes and we'll listen to it. Like, and it's awesome. We love it. Like, it makes you feel good because you know that you were there. And
Yeah.
I think and that was another thing about it was like, why do I want to do this? Well, like, I want that same thing that like I want to do the same thing that Clint did for all of us. Like, I want to have something that you can say like, yeah, I remember like back in 2014 like chilling at open mic and shit like this, like it's I just wanted that. I wanted that to just my friends to have something and me to have something to remember what I was doing at the time.
Hmm. And you have a bunch of songs that are like snapshots of moments in life, or that like I like you play it and I immediately remember like a time where this was happening in your life, and I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's almost like a journal, but like with no specifics.
Yeah. Well, do you want to play another song then? And then I guess I don't know. We can relate it to that, or you
Yeah,
can just
sure. I'll play. So I'll actually play a song that is. So we're moving through. We're moving through all my releases.
Yeah.
So the first one was Ghost Town. That was House of Tropicals. And so this next one is from Three Quarters There. And this is an older song. This is a song I wrote back in Portsmouth, but didn't put on an album or an EP or whatever. I don't know. Until like many years later. So this is called Masterpiece. I am the canvas upon which the painter paints. Everything I am is just anything that he dictates. Seen in me is a vision of his mind's eye. But what is to become of me when the painter dies? Then every single day I slowly fade to gray, slowly fade away. An unfinished work of art, well, they'd put me on the shelf. I am merely remnants of my former self, old and ugly and tattered, worn and torn. My colors just don't shine like they did before. Until some special day the artist comes my way, takes me from this place haven't been looked upon in quite a while. A little bit of creativity and in no time patches up my holes and draws new lines. I finally am complete. The artist's masterpiece. I'm a masterpiece.
All right. So I have follow-up questions based on that song, but I would be remiss if I didn't address some brewing controversy in the comment section here.
Oh,
yeah.
yay, good. I love this. I
My
love
role,
this shit.
my role as host would, it mandates that I address this.
Yeah.
We have an accuser here, Dennis, who basically has said, "Hey Brian, longtime listener, first-time commenter. Any thoughts on paying me back the money you owe me for that Brooklyn artichoke pizza?" Boom.
Wow. That.
He says he has Venmo.
First of all, Dennis is a piece of shit. I just want to put it on camera. I just want everyone to know. And
Wow.
I'm going to kick his ass next time I see him. So, Dennis, thanks for commenting, man. I appreciate it.
There are other people in the comments saying it's your personal Pizzagate. How do you respond to those allegations?
Those people are all fine, and those are valid concerns, and I care about what they have to say and their thoughts, just not Dennis.
Pointed, perhaps unfair, but the unvarnished truth. Here you have it on Brian's Basement. All right. So you're writing all of these songs, and some of them you write really early, and then you're putting out years after college on certain releases. And I guess I'm wondering, you can write songs, that recording isn't a big barrier. What's making you be like, this song belongs on this release, this is what I'm trying to do? Like, I don't know. I guess there are a lot of people that I know that write songs that would just throw them out into the world and be like, cool, that's it. But you do album art. You make a point of having a website where people can look at your lyrics. You seem to package these songs very conscientiously. And I'm wondering how you put together albums or decide I want this to be one holistic statement, and what value that has to you.
Okay, yeah. So I'm like an album. I'm like an album listener guy. I like to listen to the whole album straight through, and I like to listen to albums in chronological order. So if I discover a band, I like to listen to their first album and then their second album, all the way down the line. And I just always thought that having a collection of songs that are a collection and package and kind of theme related, I always just thought was really cool, and it's just something that I don't know, I just always wanted to do. So with House of Tropicals, obviously they were just all about they that's a very much a concept album.
Yeah, and you I just want to take one of your first releases. You were I'm gonna write five songs that are from the perspective of landmarks on a state route, and write as an inanimate building.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. But I will say that for something like that, for the ones that are very I try to make all of them theme related. But the ones that are very much it's in the title what this is, those I usually come up with the concept first. I think I have a theory that I can write 5 songs about bullshit on Route 50. And then I start there, and then I think, and usually that's because I've noticed 3 things, and I'm okay, there's 3 songs there. I can probably write the other 2 and make the full EP. So I usually, so for ones like that, I usually start with the concept. For ones like 3/4 there, since I'm always writing songs, I'm just lucky, I guess, that they all tend to kind of go together if they're written around the same time. So most of them on that one were like right after or during like the House of Tropical stuff, and they all kind of had this kind of theme of like kind of like reject, kind of like dejection thing, and they were all kind of like reject songs. So I was like, oh yeah, these will like go together really well. So I guess and then while I'm putting that together, I'm thinking like, oh, my next thing should be like something about like the election or whatever, and then I just kind of formulate. So I kind of like bounce back and forth of like coming up with a really strong concept, and then all the other ones that kind of come out during that time also just seem to kind of fall together.
Nice. Well, now that we know your album making process, I'd like to challenge all the viewers here to come up with the best possible topic to make you write 5 bullshit songs about.
Yeah, I'll do it. Like I read a song yesterday about onions, so I think it's possible. 5 songs about onions.
Well, audience, you have your challenge. All right. Well, do you want to play something off the next release? Then you said you after 3/4 Full was kind of the last of the remaining songs that you had that fit together, and then you wrote sort of a concept EP about the next election. So you want to play something off of that?
Yeah. So this is this is from a release called Dear Midterms, and this is from the 2014 midterm elections, and there was just a lot of stuff going on around that time. This is around like the whole like Michael Brown shooting, and there was the election itself was just so in the politics at the time was just one of like gridlock and just terrible stuff. It was such a disappointing election. And then like
it seems so unfamiliar.
Yeah, right. I know, right? Yeah, can you even believe it? So anyway, I wrote some songs about that, and one of the things that happened around this time was there was a mass shooting in Roseburg, Oregon, and I know everyone out there's like, which one was that? Yeah, exactly. So there's this was the one where the guy went to a college and like killed everybody execution style and like made them like beg for their lives and like really messed up shit like that. And it was gone in like a week probably, like from the news. So this is a song about that. It's called I'll Cry, with the subtitle Roseburg, Oregon. In Roseburg, Oregon, 10 people have died. Seen it happen so much in my young life. And the politicians keep politicking. The ticking time bomb keeps on ticking till the next event surprises us. And why? 'Cause we turn away, close our eyes, cover these ears till it passes by, and I'll cry, all the tears the NRA can't buy, and I'll cry. But these tears, oh, they won't stop this needless waste of life. I once had a dog that always bit the mailman, so I bought a tiger to bite the dog that bit the mailman. And the mailman, he got mauled to death, but I had the solution yet. I bought a tiger to maul the tiger that mauled the mailman. And I turned away and closed my eyes. these tears, oh, they won't stop this needless waste of life. How long will it be until we stop pretending? How many lives is 10 too many? 'Cause we've seen this game before and we know the final score. And I don't want to play out this nightmare anymore and turn away and close our eyes, cover these ears till it passes by, and I'll cry, I'll cry. All the tears the NRA can buy, and I'll cry, I'll cry. But these tears, oh, they won't stop this needless waste of life.
I want to point out, not was that powerful just in the sense that you meant to write the song about the subject matter, but also the Tiger King references in that are just off the chain. Way to be
Yeah, I didn't even
way
think
ahead of the
about that.
culture.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I haven't even seen that. I don't know.
Wow, truly, streaming services really aren't penetrating the bunker of Brian's basement.
No.
An independent thinker down here. Yeah, congrats on using your basement as a music studio and maybe pseudo public access television instead of just stockpiling food like a lot of other people.
Yeah, I had this idea and like a half a day later, before really thinking about what I was doing, I was like, "Look, we can do this now!" And now here we are, 8 weeks later. So
I think that's the best way. It really like if you had known, would you still do it?
if I had really thought about it, probably not. But
I think that's the Brian Sauer story right there.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So you have these kind of droplet of concept albums where you're writing like 4 or 5 songs intentionally about a period in your life or about inanimate buildings on Route 50 or whatever it is, and then you have these other albums that like just sort of tend to have a really strong theme because they're picking up what you're doing in your work. But then you have your next album is what, like, He Was a Slang Phrase, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that album actually is a reference to a line in The Red Badge of Courage, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so that to me sort of represents like I know I can do this and I know that I can write 5 songs about whatever I want, but like let's really make like an album. And you use some sort of new songwriting techniques on that one. You have artistic allusions in it to like the title. Like, can you just explain like what's going on with that title? What's going on with your thought process there? What did you want out of that one?
Yeah. So I had done EPs because I think it's the most like digestible format. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like kind of like the bridge between like a single and an album. So I've done EPs and I still like to do them. Like a lot of people do EPs and they move on to albums and they never do EPs again. But I'm working on one right now because I love like the 5-song, and it really is it's conducive to concept album. So I was doing that, but during this I just had so many so many songs at the time, and they weren't.
Why?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. So this would have been writing these in 24. Okay, so this would have been writing these, man, 2014 or 2015.
I thought it was 2015. Yeah.
It came out in 15. Yeah, it came out in 15, but I was writing it for probably a year before that or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Dear Midterms came out after the midterms. So
Yeah.
I don't know. So I must have just
Yeah, that works.
But I was also having I had a shitty job, and I was like way overextended. Like I was like teaching at NKU and like coaching football all at the same time, and it was like it was just insane. And so I think I just had so much stress, and then I would get home to my like apartment, and I would just have nothing to do, and then so I think that's where that comes from. But anyway, so the songs on that album are a lot of kind of like they're kind of like looking back songs. They're kind of like reminiscing, and they all kind of deal with like a negative aspect of reminiscing. So like it starts off with like things I learned today, which is like a song about loss, and then Stephen Hawking's like a song about like kind of like deliberation and like thinking about the different pathways.
Mhm.
You know, there's just the way things go is about like looking back and like feeling old now, and so the title of the song is from like you mentioned, the Red Badge of Courage, and it's from a part in the book where the main character or whatever finally gets to battle in the Civil War, and then he has this like visceral reaction to like run because like things are going like really bad. So he like bolts out of there and he runs, and the whole time he's running back to camp, he's like trying to like justify it, like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
like it's if you're dead, like what's it matter, blah blah blah, all this stuff. And then he gets back to camp and he sits, and it says like all of the people were just kind of glaring at him and like with sideways glances and like muttering under their breath and like laughing at him. And it ends with like he was a slang phrase. And so it's like all of these like kind of things just kind of like laughing at you or looking at you weird because of like, you know, the choices that you've made. And so I thought
Mhm.
it was just a fitting, like it's more of a fitting feeling than it is like a than like the like a literal like, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying, like
Yeah.
it's just how you feel like sometimes when you're thinking about things in the past, you're just like, ugh, like they like glare at you sort of. So I thought that was I just liked the way that was written too. It's Stephen Crane, and
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. So
Cool. Well, do you want to play something off that?
sure. This is a song about the multiverse. This is a song. This is so. Here's one. You might think that I am capable of writing writing songs whilst drinking, but usually I can't. But this was an exception. I was very drunk when I wrote this. This song is about I was like at the bar, just like, oh, there's million universes and things could be better in another universe if this was different, or like this one thing happened, or if the walls were a different color, you know. So that's where this comes from, and the point is that if you think like that, you can just go crazy thinking of like there is a universe somewhere where you've done this, or there is a universe where something's better and you can't even tell the difference. So this is called Stephen Hawking. If Stephen Hawking's right, there's a parallel universe where he started a band and took it all the way to the top. But in our current universe, in our sad little universe, oh, you moved away, yeah, you moved away, and you left me here. If Stephen Hawking's right, then the universe is infinite, and you've said an infinite number of things, and I've heard them all. But in our current universe, in our lonely little universe, oh, there's only so much time, yeah, there's only so much time, there's only so much time and so many words. If Stephen Hawking's right, then gravity and time are relative, and everything is related, except for you and me, 'cause in our current universe, in our disjointed little universe, oh, there'll never there'll never be enough attraction in time. No, there'll never be, no, there'll never be enough attraction in time.
All right.
That's also like the only song I play above the 5th fret. So that's it. Or sing in that octave either. So there you go.
There's always hope for you still. I'm still holding on that one day you'll switch to guitar. It's gonna happen.
Well, I've been playing bass guitar a lot lately. Does that count?
It's getting there. It's like honestly, we were talking a couple of weeks ago about Neil Young, and you asked me what I thought
Yeah,
about
I
Neil
love that. I
Young.
love this story, by the way.
Yeah, and like I like randomly was on his Wikipedia looking at stuff, and like he went through like 9 versions of ukulele before he finally started to play guitar, and man, that gave me so much hope.
Yeah, he was like, you said he was like he didn't want to play guitar, and so
Mhm.
so he's trying to find something else, and then became like one of the most famous guitarists of all time.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny is early on, I think it was I think you might have been there. We were hanging out at the. I know Zach was there, your brother.
Mhm.
But we were hanging out at this bar, and there was a guy there that was a musician, and this was like right when I was like kind of starting to play out and stuff. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I play the baritone ukulele. He's like, yeah, that's a real good thing, man. That'll make you stand out. Like, oh, good. And that is not true at all. It is so much. It like that. Maybe that is true, but it is not a net positive. Like very much the negatives way overtake the positives.
I love the idea of that because like you are so distinctive and so your own person in so many ways. And I love the idea that you like naturally landed on this instrument and other people are just like, "Oh yeah, that's a gimmick that people do."
Yeah, I know that. It's like, it's like in Katie's episode, she embarrassingly did a whole set on the ukulele. One of my favorite Brian's Basement moments. So look up that. But yeah, I don't know. Like people think I know how to play guitar, but I really don't. And it's really just because I was playing a piano and then I saw that Paul McCartney thing, and it sucks. But you know, it helps
Should
now.
I just send you like hundreds of YouTube videos of Paul McCartney playing the guitar?
No, it's too
He also
ingrained now.
famously played the bass.
Yeah, I know. But it's better now because I have the band, and all 3 of them play real instruments, so that helps a lot.
I think ukulele is a real instrument. I just also think you should play guitar. Those things can both be true.
Oh,
No, but
by the
okay.
way,
Since you mentioned the band, why don't you tell us a little bit about the band and how you moved? Like, so you've come out with "He Was a Slang Phrase," and you're now doing open mics regularly, and you're like, hey, this is something between a hobby and a part-time job here, because you're getting paid to play music in Cincinnati, or you're getting paid to host open mic nights. You're starting to do some shows. Um, what made you think like this is sustainable, this is what I want to do in my free time, and also like here I want to put a band together. I finally can find a drummer. Is that it?
no, the band the band has actually almost nothing to do with me. So the to do so well, let's break that into 2 questions because
Okay, yeah.
I was doing a lot of stuff, but the band is like a fairly recent thing within like the past year or so. So
Hmm.
I got like my first like real show on the after like House of Tropicals came out at
Hmm.
Motor, which is like my favorite bar
Yeah.
venue for music. And so I'm like, this is gonna be easy. I'm already in at Motor, and that was like, and now it's like I can't even get in Motor anymore. But like they so after I did that, and it was like so cool. It was like I went back to Motor, and I was like, I've been on that stage. Like I'm here, like
Mhm.
listening to music tonight, but like I played on that stage, and it's just there's just something about performing and getting up there and kind of letting it all out there. that it's a I think anyone that really likes doing it will tell you it's like a drug. And
Hmm.
I so after I started doing motor, and I had a lot of my friends that have been on the show, were doing shows with me and stuff, and it's just something fun to do. You go out, you get to make a poster, you get to go up there, drink some beers, play your music, and have your friends come out, and it's just, I don't know, it's just a fun thing to do. It's I wish it was, I wish it was more than this, but sometimes, it's just nice to sometimes it's just nice to act like a rock star just for a night, like it's it's just a, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's a good thing. It's also a thing to do because it gives you a goal and a reason to practice and a reason to keep writing. Like you
Hmm.
want
Hmm.
to like maintain relevance, even if it's barely relevance at all. Like you want to be able to, like, for me at least, I want to look at my list of shows and be like, yeah, like I had like fairly regular shows like the whole
Yeah.
time.
Well, and I think you get a lot more out of it than just that too. Like you are one of the people that I've always been impressed with. Like you have so many friends from adulthood, which I think is like an underrated thing, right? Like a lot of people describe to me, oh, like it's hard. Like now I'm working 9 to 5. Like it's hard to make friends, but like you have this show and you have this whole network of people that you meet just through doing open mic nights that have like a community around similar interests as you, that you've like met in your like late 20s and like I mean you're 30 years old now and you have a bunch of friends from adulthood, and I think that's kind of cool that you've tapped into that whole network.
It is cool, and the yeah, it's a cool, it's given me so much, and so it would be like, it seems silly to me to like ever think about stopping, because like you're talking about like way back in like way back in college, or even like, doing that stuff with, in the basement, just making recordings and stuff. And all that stuff is like, it's like had like real important impact. So it's like, why stop now? Like I could be, you know, 70 years old and be like, oh man, that 5 years ago was sick. Like, like you never know.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I guess that kind of brings us to your next release too, because you did My City Myself. And when I was going back and looking at your catalog, I realized like it's very similar to House of Tropicals, but it comes from a place of a person who's like, okay, like I'm not just making a concept album about my city, even though you were like you put the like myself part into it. I don't know. It seems to come from somebody who knows that they're gonna write songs sort of unashamedly and unabashedly and have a little more sense of place. So I guess I'm curious, what the difference is between like a couple years down the line, now that you're playing shows regularly, now that you're doing open mic, you go back and make this kind of sort of similar concept album, but kind of different. What'd you learn in the that span? How did things change?
Yeah, I that's a good question. They are similar in the sense that they're about landmarks that are otherwise not very noteworthy, just around town and things I've seen. The House of
Crew
Tropic.
Tower feels a
Yeah,
little
well,
dumb.
that's an exception, I guess. But everything else, I think, if I can, yeah, I'm thinking everything else is pretty nondescript. But so the House of Tropicals is just driving and just like, I don't know, just kind of like looking at these things, being like, this is interesting, and I I'm feeling weird, but, and like, this is a weird thing, and like there must be something related there. My city myself though is it's wider geographically, and
Hmm.
it's more of a connection of me to these places and not the places to each other, which I think is more the case in House of Tropicals.
Yeah.
The reason why I wanted to do this is because it had been a while, and I call myself. I guess I call myself. I don't know. I don't go out and tell everybody, "Hey, I'm a folk singer." But I like to think that I'm a folk singer, and all of the folk singers that I respect and have influenced me, like, I think one of the core features of what they do is they tell the story of they tell the story of their time. Like they
Hmm.
talk about the place they're in, the time they're in, what's happening, and then a lot of times they talk about their place in that. And
Yeah.
so I'd just come off of, He was a slang phrase, which is a whole album, and it's very focused on me and kind of my thoughts and feelings. And so I really wanted to get back to like doing the just like doing like the folk singer, like the raw shit, like what what can I talk about. So like there's songs in there that are like about me, but there's also songs that are like about like wider issues, like especially the Crew Tower song. So I think that like it just comes as like an evolution of like House of Tropicals is about places, but My City Myself has more context related to me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about as good of a segue as we're gonna get. So, do you want to play something off of My City Myself?
Sure. So I'm gonna play the aforementioned Crew Tower
Yes.
song.
Yeah.
This is one. This is one of my. This is one of people that write songs have some songs that they like the best, I guess. This is one that I'm especially proud of. I really like the way that this one.
Yeah, I like the lyrics of this one probably as good as anything else you've ever done.
All right, so this is Crew Tower. There's an old brown building and it stands downtown. It was the crown jewel in the Queen City's crown. It's got chandeliered ceilings and marbled floors. Was it wrong? Was it so wrong to hope for more? Yeah, they laid the cornerstone in 1929. And then 1 month in, everything seemed fine. You start your life in depression, then it's straight to war. Was it wrong? Was it so wrong to hope for more? I'm just like you, my dear Carew. I'm standing here too, and I'm mostly vacant and very confused. And the observation deck holds a special charm. You can see 3 states with needles in their arms, and sipping on the trickle left the sick and poor. Was it wrong? Was it so wrong to hope for more? I'm just like you, my dear Carew. I'm standing here too, and I'm mostly vacant and very confused. Yeah, we're a little more grounded than we were before. We don't build gold-plated elevator doors. We're just shitty shopping malls with empty stores. Was it wrong? Was it so wrong to hope for more? I'm just like you, my dear Carew. I'm standing here too, but I'm mostly vacant and very confused.
Joe Walla in the comments is
Ooh,
also agreeing with us,
Joe
so just
Walla.
want to shout out to that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you checked the comments lately on the show, or you letting it all go to the hands of the host?
Oh, I can't see the comments. That's a host job.
Love to keep you in ignorance. That's
Yeah.
that's
I
fantastic.
did get a text message from Dennis though,
Oh,
and he said, "Brian, this is Dennis. I just want to say you're a piece of shit. Anyway, cheers." And so I think if Dennis, I'd like to extend an olive leaf to you. Let's just bury the hatchet, man. Olive leaf out to you.
you
Anyway,
know,
is there anything in the comments? Can we do
There,
comments?
there, there are some great comments that I'll kind of go over before we close this out. I do
Oh,
want to point
okay.
out this is an interesting development for a basically a talk show about music. I don't think we've ever had an outright adversary on any of these shows, and maybe that's the thing that just gets the show over the edge.
That could be it. That
A
could be
little bit of
it.
scripted drama, a
There's
little bit of
not
music talk.
there's not enough conflict. There's not enough
Dudes
conflict.
talk about their feelings in an emotionally healthy way through music, but also
Yeah, yeah, you're
exchange
right.
insults. I don't know.
Uh,
Uh,
I
no, there are some great ideas for your next EP here. Uh,
oh yeah, okay.
yeah, let's go through some of this. We've got one that I really liked. Tommy Tracy saying 5 songs about the Shamrock, and then
Oh, that would
and
be
then
great.
Kim's rejoinder that there's nothing glam about the Sham when people said that the next album about the Shamrock obviously should be glam rock.
Huh. That's interesting. I could write songs about the Shamrock easily, probably 10 songs about the Shamrock, but it wouldn't be glam rock. I would call it glam rock at the Shamrock, but it would just be my normal shit, I think.
You can't pass up that title.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Um, Also, what I think is interesting is a little bit of chatter about people really liking Superglue and wondering why you don't write more love songs. And I think that's kind of an interesting thing that we should talk about. Like, how do you choose what to write about? What just sort of comes out naturally? Love songs are this genre that, like, so many of your guests that you've had on week after week write a ton of love songs.
Yeah.
Why do you think that you just don't gravitate towards them or just don't produce as many as other people?
Yeah, I don't know. I never really have. I think like when I was like first writing songs like in high school, I wrote
Mhm.
like the most terrible love songs in the world.
Rite of
And
passage.
yeah, right, exactly. Like I think every songwriter does that. And at some point I just kind of I don't know, I just kind of stopped. I just it's there's so many people out there that do it so well, and I just don't think I do. And I think I could try, but it just I don't know. They don't sit right with me for some reason. I think the usual process for how I come up with songs is I just if you can uh almost every song is traced to like some kind of like observation, right? Like it's
Hmm.
like here this is look at this thing. Like why is that interesting? Like and I'll look at things that aren't interesting and I'll be like, "But why is that interesting?" And I get a lot of material from that because I just have I don't know. I don't know why that is, but that's just something that I've always done or moments, like even not just things, but like moments too, like, oh, this is like a weird, like unique little moment. Like what is this saying about me or other what message is in like coming from this moment. I don't know. I probably need to. I think Kim deserves like some more good love songs, but I just yeah, I don't know. I suck at them, and there's just so many good ones out there. I don't know.
Yeah, but I also think when you do write it, they tend to be some of your like quality staple songs. Like Superglue definitely has a following. I really like Masterpiece, which that's not really a love song, but it sort of has elements of a
Yeah,
love song.
exactly. Like that's it. Like every like love song I've kind of write has elements of love songs, but they're not really. Like that's like I think that's just good enough for me. I don't know.
Yeah. Huh. Cool. Your dad suggested 5 songs about social distancing. You could call it the Brian Basement Tapes.
Yeah, I've
Do a little Bob Dylan homage or whatever.
well, I've been doing this song a day in May, and
Hmm.
a lot of songs. I'm trying to like stay away from that because I could probably write something about that all the time. But
Hmm.
yeah, there was a couple songs on there already that were like very social distancey related. But yeah.
Well, that's interesting. You just said like, oh, I could probably do that, like, therefore I'll stay away from it. Is that sort of the par for the course? Like, if something seems like easy or you could easily do it, you don't want to do it?
Well, the thing about writing a song like that is
Hmm.
like for example the social distancing stuff. Like if it's not done right, if it's just like
Hmm.
gut reaction song like that, oh yeah, like this is great. Um if I think if there's not a lot of thought put into it, it won't age well at all. Like it
Yeah.
won't like it'll be like, oh yeah, like I remember that, but like it won't be like in the dear midterm stuff, like there's nothing about like the actual midterms on it. Like and
Right.
there's nothing about like so like the songs that I have thought about that are related to that are more of like what does this say about our society that like we spend all of our time trying to get away from people until we're not allowed to. And like I would rather like explore that more than just
Yeah.
write like a song like a thing that's going to age like really badly.
Yeah. This has nothing to do with anything, but I'm sort of shocked that there isn't like a candle on the wind for social distancing already. Like,
I
why has no like pop star made that yet?
Well, they've been doing like the compilations of like I can't remember what they were, but there was like the big compilation where all the famous people did it.
Yeah.
It's like we are the world, but in the shitty
Right.
world where Twitter exists. Like that's basically what it was. Uh
Maybe that answers the question on why there's not one. Because no, we are the world, but no one wants that world.
yeah, right. Yeah, that could be it. I am sure once we get out of this and the open mics come back, there will just be a slew of quarantine songs. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of those too.
Well, when social distancing ends and you're back with the band, what are
Yes.
you going to do with the band next? Tell me about, I guess, your vision for the band and what you guys have been doing
Well,
and what you see in the future.
can I talk a little bit about how the band started,
Definitely.
how that whole start?
Yeah.
So like,
I mean, it is my show, but go
yeah.
ahead.
Basically, when I was doing shows for a while, I'd actually played a little with my uncle, Uncle Dave. Uncle Dave
Mhm.
plays a guitar, and I was like, oh, like if I'm playing like a bigger or better venue, like I want to fill out the sound a little bit. So he had learned some of my songs and stuff, and we've been playing some shows, not like super regularly, but enough. But then I was at an open mic at Crow's Nest, and this guy comes up to me, he's like, yo, I want to play can I play bass for you? And like again, like this isn't like me, like this is the exact same thing me back in the day. Like, can I play harmonica on your album? That's what it was, I was like me was like, oh, I don't know, this guy could be a weirdo. But I was like, oh, okay, all my chords and lyrics are online. If you want to learn some, we can like text and like figure it out. And so he did. And he went and learned them, and he killed it. He's super good, and he's super cool actually. And so that's Scott. So then I got Scott playing bass and stuff,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh well, I've got this. I got Uncle Dave that can play guitar, and so it was the three of us for a while, and
Mhm.
it was really cool because we were basically like the old Clint band. Like we had like the guitar player that could play the technical stuff, me playing rhythm, and then the bass player. And then last year we were going to do Battle of the Brewery Bands, and you had to have two
Mhm.
people from the brewery in the band. And so there's a guy, Jesse, a bartender at Darkness Brewing. He plays the drums, and so I was like, Jesse, you want to play some of my songs for Battle of Bands? And he was. He wanted to, and he has a great practice room, and so we went over there and practiced, and he's a perfect fit for the band, and we all gel super good, and and he's super versatile for a drummer and can
Mhm.
do anything, and all of them are so good at their respective instruments, and I'm so bad at mine, and like being around them is it's super inspiring. They all bring something to it, and they're just kick ass. And so I am really looking forward to getting back and playing with them. We had a bunch of
Yeah.
shows
Yeah.
scheduled, but like the earliest one we had was May 22nd, so probably that one's not going to happen. But maybe the one in August or December might. I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Yeah. Was finally getting the drummer an aha moment for middle school you?
It was, well, it definitely ramped up the
Was it like,
energy.
man, I've made it?
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was like, oh, like finally, like I found somebody. But like when we played the Battle of the Bands, it was a huge stage, and we were just played as loud and crazy as we could, which we don't do all the time. Most of the time,
Mhm.
but it was. I mean, it was fun. It was like a transformative experience. Like getting up, like it was one of those things where you could like stand on the speaker in front of the stage. Like who the hell gets to do shit like that? So I was like, that was so fun, and we dressed up in costumes on Halloween, and none of the other bands did, which was questionable on their part. I don't know.
Yeah, missed opportunity.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, yeah, it has been like a validation. Like I have done it. I have accomplished all I need to. I have a drummer who has a practice room and can travel with his drums.
Are there any plans to, once this is all over, to do a similar Battle of Bands thing, or celebrate in any way, or just have that sort of raucous show?
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing the newsflash. I get breaking news. I'm thinking about having Brian's Basement Festival at my house, and all of the people that played or were on the show can play, and we'll just get a keg of beer and grill out and just hang out all day and maybe try to raise some money for a charity or something. I don't know.
So how can all that talent fit in one tiny house?
Well, we're gonna do it outside, hopefully.
So,
yeah, it's not gonna be in the basement. That's the cool irony part of it. Yeah, but I want to do that, and then like I was talking to Joey Jamwave last week. I want to do a battle of the duo bands. Like, there's a sketch, a Portlandia sketch is Battle of the Quiet Bands, and they all see how quiet they can play. And so I want to do that concept, but for real.
Great. I'm all for it. I'd also like to give a shout out in the comments to David Sauer, who had my personal favorite idea, which is a song about brown bear. I'll write the lyrics, don't you worry.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure you will, yeah.
And it will be a love song, so you'll get
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about before we close this down? What else should we say in terms of your process and your work?
Oh man, I don't know. I think we covered a lot of it. I mean, I just let things simmer in the back of my brain, and then sometimes I barf out a song. That's about as far as my process goes. So, I mean, yeah, man. Thanks for doing this, man. Thanks.
Yeah,
for
no problem.
Putting together the questions and taking the time to do this. You're probably way better at it than I am. So I think maybe next week you can interview the guest, and I'll just sit back and drink beer.
Oh, if you want to give me like a segment where I make fun of you, I would take that. Or we could bring Dennis in.
Oh yeah, we could.
just a dose of vitriol for your show. I don't know.
So many possibilities.
Yeah, so many possibilities. It's a real Stephen Hawking problem here.
Oh, we gotta do plugs. I guess that was kind of plugs. There are really no plugs.
Tommy Tracy is calling me live. I did not suggest that there was a call-in section, but I like the initiative, so I'm just going to take this.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Hey, Tommy, what's up? We didn't. We just made it a select members only thing, and you're in. Congratulations.
You put him on speaker?
Oh, shit.
And I'm really disappointed about that.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question for the audience?
Could you guys talk a little bit about the sweaty toilets?
Oh, the sweaty toilet.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Tommy, because he would definitely not bring it up.
All right. Thanks, Tommy. I guess there is a call-in section. If you have my number, I may choose to answer the phone. We'll see.
That's great.
All right. Thanks, Tommy.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we have to address the sweaty toilets, so that'll be my plug. Sweaty Toilets is a punk band that Alex writes all the... Alex is like shitty punk Bernie Taupin, and I'm shitty punk Elton John. And every February, except for this last one, we write an entire album in the month of February.
And how'd it go?
How'd it go? It's fucking awesome. Go to briansauer.name/sweatytoilets, and you can download all that shit for free. And it's awesome. And all the lyrics are up there, and it's super good. And the Sweaty Toilets is my favorite band, and I'm definitely not in it. I'm just a fan.
Cool. I'm gonna take another call here. This is Dennis.
Oh, nice.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, how are you doing, Dennis?
Is the show over?
No. You're live. You're definitely live. Please mute the show in the background. This is going off the rails.
I heard that through the grapevine. Am I on speaker?
Mm-hmm. The world can hear you, Dennis. Say what you need to say.
So I heard through the grapevine, because I got contacts, that Brian, Mr. owes me money over here.
Okay.
Is down for a roast session where I just video chat in, and you and me, we just take turns roasting this guy.
Wow.
I don't want to commit to it 100%, but I'm definitely interested.
Okay.
I hope you are.
Okay.
And I hope Brian.
Sure.
Brian is ready to be on the hot seat.
We're gonna explore that possibility off the air. Thanks, Dennis. Thanks for your call.
So now everyone can obviously see why I hate this guy. But, anyway, so what are we doing, man? Are we ready to wrap it up?
Well, I think that it's good that we can both cover your songwriting and music, and also have just a completely inane grievance about pizza.
About owing money for pizza. Yeah.
Just be a strong thread throughout the show. Also, good job on the comment section, everyone. Much better than your average YouTube video. That's not a high bar, but you've really exceeded it.
Oh, yeah.
So congrats to all. Play your song and let's get out of here.
All right, dude. Thank you for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
It was a blast.
And thank you to everyone that's tuned in this week. And we've got some great guests in the pipeline. So we'll be back next week. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you then. Oh, we should tune first, though. Oh, boy. You know. All right. Dream of just packing it in, driving as fast as I can. There is a place I've always wanted to go. I dream of New Mexico, and I'm sure there's a trail in the high desert leading to a Spanish church that has all of the answers. I bet that there's mountains that even has snow. I'll find out in New Mexico. And I dream right through this 1,000-yard stare at my monitor. This monitor, a monitor that's watching me and poisoning me, force feeding me nothing at all, nothing at all, nothing at all, forcing out the space in my head for dreams, these dreams of New Mexico, where the grocery stores sell fresh avocados and the road stands serve authentic tacos, and I'll never run into anybody I know. I dine well in New Mexico, where the streetlights blink yellow at night, and the cities are all quiet, there's nobody in sight. There's a minor league baseball game on the radio. I sleep well in New Mexico, and I dream right through this 1,000-yard stare at my monitor. This monitor, a monitor that's watching me and poisoning me, force feeding me nothing at all, nothing at all, nothing at all, forcing out the space in my head for dreams, these dreams of New Mexico. Now New Mexico is not that far away. I can leave tomorrow
All right.
Alrighty.
Let's cue that theme song and call it a wrap.
All right. Thanks, man. Thank you, everybody out there.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.